My sister, female 30, is obsessed with my female 31 boyfriend, male 37. I'll start by saying that I love my sister very much, even though we have never been very close. Something that's always caused tension between us is that she can be quite a jealous and insecure person. It is always comparing herself and her life to others, particularly me. She has in the past frequently expressed jealousy over my appearance, weight, career, friends, travels, etc. But the one aspect of our lives that she's always felt superior to me over is our love lives. I have had really bad luck when it comes to love. I had one relationship that was physically, emotionally, and sexually abusive, and as a result, dating has been quite hard for me. And I have a difficult time trusting men. I was single for years. Meanwhile, she had been with the same guy for 8 years and was always talking about how great and stable he was, all the gifts he would give her, etc. Then in 2017, I met my partner. We instantly connected on a level I'd never experienced before. And after many months of being just friends and getting closer and closer in the name of platonic friendship, we eventually told each other how we really felt and began dating. I cannot express enough how much I love this man. He makes me feel adored, safe, supported, and appreciated. He's witty and smart and hilarious, and gentle and sexy. We moved in together in 2019 and life has been blissful. Also, in 2019, my sister felt pregnant. Her partner told her he was getting ready to propose. However, about 5 months after the birth of my niece, he decided he didn't want to be with my sister anymore and left. This was very traumatic for my sister, especially since this was around the time COVID was kicking off and lockdowns were being announced. And all of a sudden, she was facing being a single mom. Thankfully, she lived close to my parents and was able to form a bubble with her household, so she had their support. And when lockdowns eased, my boyfriend and I would help out whenever we could. It's been incredible watching my niece, female 3, grow up, and it's been lovely watching my boyfriend to be so good with her. He has 4 nephews, so he knows how to be a fun uncle, play with kids and talk to them, etc. This is where the weirdness started. It began with my sister making constant comments about how good my boyfriend is with kids. I would agree with her, but then she'd make digs about how it's such a shame he's with someone who wants to be child-free, aka me, and it's such a waste of a good man, that he was born to be a dad, etc. Soon, she would start sighing about how my boyfriend is perfect and how she needs to find another him. Again, I would agree because in my opinion, he really is the perfect package, and I would love for my sister to find someone as great as him. But it soon became evident she doesn't want someone like him. She just wants him. She began saying he was the main male figure in her daughter's life, and that he was the closest thing my niece had to a father. When my niece started talking and familiarizing herself with our roles, he would call him uncle, but then all of a sudden she started calling him daddy. I would always gently correct her and say, "No, darling, that's your uncle." But one time my sister heard this and she yelled at me for correcting her daughter and said I need to leave it alone, that it doesn't matter if she calls my boyfriend daddy. This is when I got really uncomfortable and put my foot down and told her she needed to stop confusing her daughter and stop allowing her to think my boyfriend is her daddy. I feel like my sister knows that letting my niece call my boyfriend daddy is only going to confuse her, but I also feel like she doesn't care because she likes to pretend my boyfriend is the daddy. After that fight, things got quite tense between us and my sister started snapping at me over everything I did, while still mooning over my partner and telling him how amazing he is. A few times my partner had to stick up for me and tell my sister not to speak to me like that in our house, which always bruised her. Things hit a boiling point last weekend. She asked us to babysit my niece for a couple of hours while she gets her hair trimmed. This wasn't ideal, as my boyfriend was doing something that required a lot of concentration and quiet that morning. Plus, we had an engagement later that afternoon. So I reluctantly agreed but explained to my sister that we needed to leave at a certain time, so she really had to be back by then. My sister is very disrespectful of other people's time and has no regard for other people's lives. It's always all about her. I took my niece to the park to let my boyfriend have some peace and quiet. We played for a while, then sat and had a coffee and baby chino at my local cafe before eventually returning home. I expected my sister to be returning soon too as agreed, but she was a no-show. Time is ticking. My boyfriend and I really need to get going. I'm ringing my sister and she's not answering. I'm stressed. Then all of a sudden she turns up 40-odd minutes late. I'm angry, but I don't even have the time to get into it with her, so I just start to say goodbye to my niece. That's when my sister noticed what she insisted was mold on my niece's shoes. She asked or yelled at me if I let her walk in puddles. I said she may have accidentally stepped in a puddle while at a park, but she wasn't jumping in them. My sister then started ranting like a lunatic at me, that I was not to let her go in puddles without gumboots, and that because of my thoughtlessness the shoes are now moldy. I said that's not how mold works. It doesn't grow after 3 hours. It can't be mold. Or if it is mold, it isn't there because of me. Mold does not grow in 3 hours. But my sister can't be told. She screamed at me, called me thoughtless and an idiot with no common sense or maternal instincts. I stepped outside during this argument and told her she was acting appallingly in front of her daughter. That's when she closed the back door on me and locked it, locking me out of my house. My house. I banged and demanded she unlock the door, and she said, "Not until you calm down did I feel it safe for you to be around my daughter." I was so disgusted at her audacity. How dare she lock me out of my own home? I went around to the front door, but she had locked that too. Luckily, I had my phone in my pocket, so I rang my boyfriend and told him to let me in because she had locked me out of the house. He was upstairs and had no idea any of this had happened. When he opened the door for me, I have never seen him look so angry in my life. He was furious, but he kept his cool and calmly but firmly told my sister to get out, that he was sick of her being so disrespectful to me when I bent over backwards trying to help her, and that she was no longer welcome under his roof until she apologized to me. She scoffed and said, "That's never going to happen." Then she left. It's been a few days, and since then she has been blowing up my boyfriend's phones with texts. He's shown them all to me. In them, she apologizes to him, not to me though, saying she's stressed out being a single mom, and that she gets no support from her family, and that the only support she has is him. My boyfriend replied saying that the only time he is around her or my niece is when I'm there too. So her saying that is proof that she does not appreciate or see the amount of support I give her. My sister replied saying it's not the same because I'm not a maternal person and would never be a good mother, so I don't get it like he does. Then she sent message after message, each more insane and inappropriate than the last, saying she wishes he was my niece's father, that he's everything she's ever wanted in a man, that they would make such a good team, that she's more compatible for him than I am, and that it breaks her heart every day she sees him wasting his life with me. There were also texts where she talked about how great he looks and smells. My boyfriend replied with, "This is not appropriate nor appreciated. I'm not comfortable receiving these messages, and ask you please not contact me again until you have resolved things with Opie." Then he blocked her. I'm just at a loss on where to go from here. I love my niece so much and want to be in her life. I'm worried about my sister. I can see she's struggling. I want to help her, but this situation has become so toxic. Nothing I do is good enough. I'm tired of being screamed at for everything I do wrong and being told I don't have good maternal instincts, when others who have seen me with my niece tell me I'm doing a great job. I may not want to be a mother, but I do want to be an aunt. And it hurts my feelings to have everything I try to do for my sister gets dismissed. Then there's my sister's feelings towards my boyfriend, which at this point feels like a freaking obsession. I feel like both he and I have been disrespected hugely by her. How do we navigate that? I genuinely have no idea what to do, and it hurts my heart. Please help. Now for the top advice. Holy smokes, this is mad. Like, it's basically the plot of one of those Lifetime movies where your sister slowly transforms herself into your doppelganger and tries to literally replace you. Super goddamn creepy. Very glad to hear your partner has her back on this. Honestly, I don't even know if there's any advice to give here if she's resistant to therapy, etc. and thinks she's done nothing wrong. She almost certainly has some kind of personality disorder going on given how she's acted. The best thing you can probably do is keep an eye out for your niece even from a distance. If the only parent she has is this unstable, it's pretty likely she won't have the greatest home life once she starts having her own ideas and opinions. You could think about insisting on family counseling with your sister as a prerequisite for you, or your partner spending any more time with her or your niece. If there's a chance, it might improve things. But honestly, I don't think your sister will be happy until she feels like she's better than you again, which probably means her getting into another relationship. It sucks that you may have to miss out on time with your niece as a result of this, but her behavior is just so utterly insane. I'm not sure there's anything else you can do except avoid her. I genuinely think she has a personality disorder too. I've thought this since we were teenagers, to be honest, but the past few years are the worst it's ever been. She always thinks she's the victim, and that everything she does and thinks is correct. It's always black and white with her, and she's never wrong. In one of her texts to my boyfriend, she told him I was not allowed around her daughter until I apologized to her and take accountability for the mold on the shoes that miraculously grew in a couple of hours. She actually walked away from that day thinking she was owed the apology. It's maddening. For a while, I've assumed that her crush on my boyfriend would go away once she found someone else. But she's currently in some sort of weird situationship with an older man. Sounds like a sugar daddy situation, to be honest. And it hasn't helped at all. Sadly, I think avoiding her completely is the only thing to do at the moment. But it makes me so sad and really worried for my niece. Now for the last story. My friend who has chased married men before may now be into my husband. Plus update. Original post. When my friend first got together with her ex-husband, she was in a serious relationship with her then boyfriend, and he was married with kids. Long story short, they both left their relationship and had a shotgun wedding. 3 kids later, he left her to move to another state. Surprise! The ex-boyfriend she cheated on is now married. And guess what? One day, she saw him online, so she texted to me and said maybe it's a sign from the universe that she should talk to him. She asked me if he is happy in his marriage. I told her he seems happy and she should stay away. Apparently, she wasn't happy with my answer, so she asked my husband the same question. Again, my husband told her the ex is very happy. Recently, she has been bombarding my husband with random messages of spirituality. She got into it during her divorce. She would send him paragraphs and paragraphs of random thoughts, even though sometimes he would go on days without replying her. When he does, it would be a simple, "I'm busy with kids," or even a swear word. And then she would go again. She somehow figured out my husband's birthday and asked him why we never celebrated that. It's private and my husband never celebrates it with friends. And texted him to question him on what he has against weddings and then gave him reasons why weddings are great. We had a small wedding and she wasn't invited, so maybe she thinks that we didn't have one? My husband did not respond to that question. One day, she texted me to see how I'm doing in my marriage. I told her it's not as romantic as before, which is fine because we are focusing on kids. Then she mentioned how she is fine by herself and said I can find someone else romantic too. I tried to dismiss it like it was a ridiculous joke, but she just wouldn't drop it. The next day, she tried to bring it up again. My husband and I were going to move, and she asked me if that's what I wanted. I could sense that she was trying to make me doubt my husband again. And luckily for her, that was actually my idea. In the days that followed, she sensed something was wrong, and even tried to explain herself and how it is not in her place to suggest I leave my husband. She said how she was actually talking to a guy and explicitly say that it was not my husband, as if that would exonerate her, a known two-timer. Then she said she would not bother my husband again. But then she didn't stop. She's now sending my husband paragraphs and paragraphs of thoughts again like before. My husband responds to her sometimes because he thinks that she needs someone to talk to. They also sometimes exchange investment ideas because it's their common interest. He is worried about her mental state and that if no one talks to her, she would harm herself. My husband knew my friend long before we were together, so I didn't mind their independent friendship. But I suspect now that she's pursuing something more. Now for the top advice before reading the update. Your friend is a freaking wacko. I really need to hear this. So I'm not a crazy one. The fact that you are still friends with this person. What can I do? Unfriend her? She's unstable and trying to cause issues in your family. This really isn't hard. When my friend first got together with her ex-husband, she was in a serious relationship with her then boyfriend and he was married with kids. Long story short, they both left their relationship and had a shotgun wedding. 3 kids later, he left her to move to another state. Curious why you chose to remain friends with someone like this. From everything I know, female homewreckers are really fun to hang out with, in much the same way male homewreckers are. They tend to be the life of the party. They tend to be very gregarious and outgoing. They tend to tell the best jokes. They have very magnetic personalities. They tend to be emotionally intelligent and, well, seductive. It is part of what makes them so dangerous. They are so much fun that their cheating behavior aimed at others outside their friend group can all be forgiven, right up until you stop and realize, what if he ever turned up the charm around my girlfriend/wife? Or what if she ever turned her wiles upon my boyfriend/husband? This is a great description of what it's like to be friends with someone who ends up like that. Holy smokes. It's not so simple. We have at least 20 mutual friends and I'm bound to bump into her at some gathering. Also, keep your friends close and enemies closer. She can still keep friending my husband. What kind of friends are these that you can't talk to them about her antics and just have everyone kick her from the group? If they don't care about it and prefers not making waves, then it's time to make a choice. Either continue hanging out with your friend group and risk your marriage and family to tolerate her, or gradually distance yourself from everyone and focus more on your family. You can always make new friends. Why isn't your husband blocking her? They have no reason to text each other. Like I said, she's going through a divorce and my husband worries that she would harm herself if he completely blocks her. Your husband isn't her therapist. She should not be emotionally relying on him. He needs to set boundaries, especially if it's making you uncomfortable. And now for the update. Thank you all for those who replied. At first, I thought I was paranoid for thinking that my friend is out of line. However, not one single person says that it is platonic, or that she's going through a divorce, so cut her some slack. The answer was so simple. We needed to cut her out of our lives. I confronted her yesterday, and she dared to reply back and said how those spiritual messages were supposed to help my husband treat me better. She made it sound like she had no one to talk to besides him, while there were at least 10 other women from our group including me. I told her that she needs to see a therapist, that he is not her therapist, and she said she will talk to herself and she can be her own therapist. I have had enough and sent her one final message. You need to understand that there are boundaries with married men, and your past behavior indicated otherwise. Let me be clear, there is no place for you in my marriage. I thought it was good enough to keep her at arm's length, but my sisters told me no after reading this post. Both my husband and I were so blind. My husband has very low opinion of her and she is no threat to my marriage. However, she can still drive us apart. I am a working mom and have no time to monitor the situation. So, we both blocked her. It's over and I am so relieved. It's been like 6 months. I really thought the ex-friend would escalate after being blocked. Lol. Sounds like they moved. So maybe that's why. Or, she moved on to some other married man. I probably would have reassessed my relationship with a friend the first time she chased after a married man if I was OP. When you hang around someone who makes a habit of cheating and destroying relationships, you shouldn't be too surprised when they set their sights on your relationship. On a related thought, anyone else think the friend is mentally ill? Her behavior seems a bit erratic. She seems a bit too comfortable lying and manipulating, and a comment about how she'll be her own therapist set off alarm bells for me. Same. We can disagree on many views, but cheating is one of the bare minimum standards for ethics. I can't stand people who say, I don't have an obligation to the spouse/significant other of my affair partner. They're the one cheating. Listen here, a-hole. Trash and garbage are synonyms. I could never be friends with people who go after married men/women. I had a coworker like that once. You know what happened? The ex-husband of one of the women he slept with sent him to the hospital for 3 months. Good that Opie and her husband blocked her out of their lives.